Hello and welcome. This is Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
And I'm Justin. How you doing?
Good, Justin. How are you?
I am very, very good. I am ready to discuss what we're about to discuss today.
Yes, ready to finish this.
Been a
And
while since we've done
if
this,
you're
I feel like.
Mhm. And if you're unfamiliar with what this is actually part two of a two-part two-part podcast, two-part episode about our favorite 90s TV shows. And if you want to hear what our favorites were, and plus our overall favorite for the first half of the decade, from 1990 through 1994, you can listen to that in our back catalog, wherever you get your podcasts from. You could also check it out on our YouTube channel. How else can people find us, Justin, or tell them more about what we do?
Yeah, you can learn more about what we do over on our Twitter page. If you wanted to see like updates and things like that, we do occasionally do some live streaming. You can find us on Facebook too. But honestly, the best place is to go to at Playing Favorites podcast on YouTube, and then you can just search for Playing Favorites on pretty much any podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. So go check that out, and then you can at least get the first half, like you said, of this decade we're doing. We've been doing a lot of 90s things, so if you like the 90s, you're nostalgic for it. We did movies recently too, so go check out that. That was a fun two-parter. We'd like to do these 90s episodes and decade episodes and many other
Yeah,
favorite topics too.
the decades episodes have been really fun, and but I'm also excited to get back into our usual form, which is taking a topic, which is what we do here,
Yeah.
and kind of doing a deep dive on why we like what we like about it and why we like it so much. Um, Especially listening to our last one, which was unfavorite unfinished video game. And I got to tell you, I've been thinking about our choices in those conversations because they are like games like I wish I could have finished it.
Yeah.
It's just like it just brings it back up to me. I'm like, I can't finish that game. I wish I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
someday,
Yeah.
somehow. Nope,
Maybe,
never.
someday, but probably not. But
No.
anyways,
I'll
we're not
never
here to
play Grandia 2 again.
we're here to talk about from TV shows maybe we never finished, but we're not going to talk about video games.
That's right. So we're
uh,
starting in the year 1995.
yes, that's right. But if you're on the YouTube channel, or if you're not on the YouTube channel, I guess if you are, you would see this. You'll probably know something that came out in the late 90s. I'm actually broadcasting live from South Park, so that
Pretty cold out
just give
there.
you a little clue thing. I don't know why there's a little fuzzy haze behind me though. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so
Oh, that's probably we could say it's smoke from the town because it's so realistic,
sure, yeah.
or it's just something wrong with your green screen.
Probably the later. Yeah, so if you haven't been to this this type of format with the decades before, like we said, it's a little different than we usually do. We're actually going to go year by year. Probably do some shout outs per year, talk about our favorite of each individual year, maybe have some fun facts just to kind of set the stage of what was going on in the 90s. Hopefully not as negative news as it was in part 1. I don't want to hear about the
Why are
Cold
you gonna
War.
mention it? Why are you
I
gonna
don't I
mention it?
don't want I don't want to hear about the impeachment of Monica Lewinsky or any of that, or OJ Simpson's trial, because I think in '95 he is found
Aw,
not
come
he
on.
is found non guilty.
Okay,
But
listen. The only thing, yes, that's the only thing I wanted to say was that in '95. What was it in October 3rd? OJ Simpson is found not guilty.
all right, there's your there's your
So
there's your there's
that
your
ends
there's
that.
the conclusion from
I'm
the
not.
first part.
Yep, I'm not going to bring up the Oklahoma City bombing
Oh, you just did.
by right-wing paramilitary guys. Okay, all right. No, you're right. Let's
Uh,
focus on the fun stuff in
yes. And I have
1995.
some additional fun facts because I feel like this little kind of fun little thing, because now by the 95s might start knowing some people. That's all I'll say. We'll get to that in a second. So you do your news first, but I have some fun facts.
All right. I'll just say that a couple like I think interesting things. So in space news, Americans dock with the Russian space station Mir for the first time. So the U.S. shuttle docks with the station on June 27th, I think.
Okay.
So it's cool, like the first like
Yeah.
international space meeting, which is kind of important, I think, kind of significant. Reminds us of a better time.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, this is bad news, but it's entertainment bad news. While the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum opens for the first time in
Okay.
Cleveland, also Grateful Dead frontman Jerry Garcia died this
Yeah.
year. And that was the first like musician I remember hearing about that died that was like, whoa, that was like a big deal.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about the Grateful Dead. I don't, at this point, but I just remember hearing about his death back then. That's
Yeah,
how
I don't
huge
remember. I don't know if I
Grateful Dead
remember
was.
hearing about him dying back then. I don't know.
Mhm.
But here's my fun facts from the '90s. This is gonna make you feel old.
Oh boy, here we go.
I have a list of birthdays for '95. Uh,
Oh god. Oh god. Why are
well,
you doing this to us?
well, one my brother was born in '95. We'll just throw out Tyler. He's been
Okay,
on this
well that's
channel before.
fine.
But Timothy Chalamet from Dune, he was born in
Oh,
1995.
he's proud.
Kendall Jenner was born in 1995.
I don't know who any of those people. Well, I know Timothy Chalamet, but Kendall Jenner and those ilk, I don't know. I
Well,
just
Kendall
have a
Jenner was
very
like, she's. I just know
yeah,
I know the name mostly.
yeah,
And Logan
yes.
Paul. If you know Logan Paul, the
Oh, gross.
yeah, I know.
Barf.
Oh, and well, here's a nice one. You might like Gabby Douglas. She was born in.
Gabby Douglas. That sounds familiar.
She's a gymnast. She's an Olympic gymnast.
Oh, yes. Oh, she went to town for their, kind of like their concussion symptoms that they get, right? Was that Gabby Douglas? Or
Maybe.
no, I'm thinking
I
of
don't know.
somebody else more recent. Gabby Douglas was
But yeah, so
a little
I've
while
been doing some birthdays because
back.
there's some fun. There's some notable mentions that kind of just
Okay. An Olympian and a really good actress or, actor and your brother. I can
so,
deal with that.
and
I can
a
deal with
couple
that.
people that we don't want to talk
And couple jack-offs, yes.
about. Well, anyways, 95. What we'll
That's
start with
95.
we'll start with your favorite, or do you have any shout outs for 95 as far as shows?
Shout outs, yes. Just one shout out, because it was like my first introduction to a funny adult themed cartoon, not The Simpsons. And that's Dr. Katz, professional
Okay,
therapist.
I saw that on there.
I wanted to like the critic. I watched like a couple episodes and
I
it
like the
wasn't.
critic.
I liked it enough. I like it now more than I liked it when I was a kid. At the time, though, for some reason, it was The Simpsons and Dr. Katz. Just H. John Benjamin's voice is so distinct, and Dr. Katz even. So just like hearing their conversations as like father and son, because H. John Benjamin plays his son,
Mhm.
who's like this loser, kind of like stoner dude, a little bit. It's just really funny
I,
hearing like the therapist dealing with his son.
the animation was that, wouldn't they call, did they call that squiggle vision? Was that
Squiggle
weird
vision, yeah, because it was, like,
squiggle?
always moving. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
because
so disorienting.
it reminded me of something from, like, Liquid Television that you'd see, and, like, when I was just flipping through channels and found it, I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." I'm glad you remember it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I wasn't sure if you would,
Yeah, no,
know
I
that
remember
one.
Dr. Katz. I never could get into it that much. It was too, I
Mhm.
guess, like dry, I think, for at that time for me. Um, I
I
don't
have no idea how many episodes there are, but, yeah, it was
so
very dry.
I have a shout out of a show that I want to see if you can remember. And
Oh,
that show
okay.
was called The Max.
Oh my gosh! I
Yeah.
have the Max.
Like
I have it on, like, a CD-ROM, like,
oh,
WAV files
like
or MP4s.
you remember like because it's such a shout out because
Oh,
like I
dude.
vaguely remember the show like
Yes.
when I was going down the
Crazy
list
shit.
I'm like what is that show, like the name just sounded familiar, and the second I
Mhm.
saw the art style I'm like oh my god I remember this is such just a weird show.
We watched it together. Do
Did we
you remember
oh
that?
we did, oh it's right you did
Yes.
right I do remember this now.
We had this whole revelation, like, maybe 7, 8 years ago at this
Mm,
point. You
wow,
had this, like we're like, "We remember that show," and I was like, "I have a copy of those episodes. We
that's
can
right
watch them."
I remember this now, yeah.
And I never saw the comics, like, maybe I leafed through one in a store,
Hmm.
but I hear those were good too. But yeah, like, that show, it was a lot of reused animation, but when it was, like, actually animated and good, it was really good. It was cool.
It was just like
It's
a it was like a cooler
different.
version of the Tick. Like, I mean, like, like just the
Yeah,
kind of
like a
that,
weird, not a
yeah.
hero.
I mean, a few other shout outs, like mostly because I mean, it's like Pinky and the Brain that came out. I was always a big fan of that show.
Yep, they got their own show, right?
Sliders, I wish I watched more of. I was like, that was one of those like sci-fi shows that I'm like, I
Mhm.
never knew when it was on, but it would like, I'd randomly stumble upon it and watch it. Like, oh, this seems neat, but then I never could watch it again for like a month because I didn't know when to watch it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
it just
I never watched it for, like, more than 5, 10 minutes. I don't
yeah.
know, I just
And
yeah,
then
it was just, like, on sometimes.
The Drew Carey Show I watched a ton, so that came out that year as well. So
Yeah,
I didn't
I
think that
am
would be
aware of it.
yeah. I watched a lot of sitcoms, but that's not my favorite. My favorite is actually Xena Warrior Princess. I am gonna go with that.
Ooh,
Yeah,
good
because
choice.
they didn't have this on the list, and this was really something I dug into because it's like they only list Hercules on the list, the
Oh,
Legendary Journeys,
seriously?
because
Yeah.
Xena was introduced in that show, and then like they kind of like branched it off later that year. And
Was
I
it
was
in the same year she got her own show?
yeah, it was within the same year. Same year. They use that like a sort of an introduction within the other show to like branch it off. What I didn't know is Sam Raimi developed this. I had no clue
Yeah.
he was part of it initially, which is why Bruce Campbell's in it all the time. Like,
Mhm. Jack of all trades. He
yeah.
even got a show, very short-lived.
Oh, I know. Wasn't
Didn't
it like
last.
Sinbad? Was it Sinbad? Was that what?
No, Jack of all trades was his name.
Oh, he
He
oh
was a character.
that.
That was his character from the Hercules universe,
Hmm.
whatever.
The
So they, like, tried to spin yeah, he makes good cameos, and they tried to spin him off into his own show,
got it.
and it just didn't go
I don't
anywhere,
really
but,
have
you know
I don't have much to say about it, but like that was like my first foray into like what the Greek gods, like right? Is it the Greek gods? Like or
yeah,
yeah, like I mean like just like of just like popcorn action. Obviously, like I'm a middle schooler, so Xena obviously is it's a very attractive eye candy, if you
what's funny is doesn't
will.
she are they in, like, an open lesbian relationship on the show?
It's they should
They call
it's a
her
big
her
thing.
companion,
Yeah, like
and I think it is, like, whereas Hercules and his friend, they were just, like, friends,
yeah.
like, Xena and her companion, it was, like, pretty sure these 2 are together,
Yeah,
and it was
they don't blatantly
I
say
feel
it
like
though, because she had been with
yeah,
other people, and there's always like these other things where she ends up like it's almost like
having to
she
seduce
it's almost
someone.
like she was bi in a way, but Gabrielle was her one. Like that was the one she
Mhm.
would be up like she would protect and be with. And I think there was a point where they kissed at one point, which obviously probably only happened one time because back in that day, that was a
You could
hard
only
thing to
get yeah, and isn't it amazing to think about a show like that and how far, like, entertainment at least has come,
mhm.
in terms of, like, like, being representative of different
I mean,
ways of life.
when you hopped on today, like when you were like coming into the Discord, and we were like, "Oh, how are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm watching a clip." I was watching a Xena clip. Just it was like
Oh.
it's like Xena's like is like brutal most brutal fight, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch this because I'm just wanting a refresher, and I'm like, oh man, like it's so cheesy. Obviously, there is like literally she's like there's a point where she's hanging from a rope, and there's a bunch of guys trying to get her, and she's like
Mm.
waiting for Gabrielle to like push this like vat of tar over their head. But like as she's like kicking down at them, which she's not even hitting them, you just hear the sound of like those punch sounds that are in shows.
Oh, over and over,
It's
the
like she's
same
like
sound
it's
effects.
just constantly going over and over. But I'm like the one thing that was it's so flamboyant her actions and like so like just like almost like Captain Kirk over the top like the way she
Yeah,
like
it's like soap opera stuff, they
yeah
don't have, like, expensive sets, they're using a lot of, like, backlots and stuff, and they're outside for half the show, there's not a
sure
lot of money in this,
yeah
you know?
but
So the stunts and stuff are really, like, the best that they can do, and
but
some of them
like
aren't bad.
it's not bad. It's still like I was still even rewatching a clip. My memory of it is like, oh, it's got to be really cheesy. Like it's like still has some like it had that Sam Raimi kind of vibe. Like I noticed some of the camera work had that like weird like zoom in, but then the background comes in. Like
Yes,
it's like that weird shot
yes,
and like
perspective shifts and things like
yeah,
that,
like I was like, oh,
the
this
way he
is not
plays with
bad.
the
But
frame.
Lucy Lawless, like she was great, and like her demeanor and just that was such a unique show for that time. Like you didn't get a lot of like we're about to see the like kind of the renaissance of the female protagonist in a sense. Like you didn't really have a lot of that prior to this era. Like I mean, we talked about TV shows, we doing a lot of decade stuff, and really like this is kind of
No.
the beginning of that.
Do you remember Jessica Alba in Dark Angel?
Yeah,
That show was huge because of the fact that it was like a female protagonist.
sure.
And that was, like we witnessed a lot of these changes, and how
Well, that
easy it
was
can be. Like
we're
you can
talking.
have somebody be like a leading character in a movie.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the
Uh,
beginning of the the woke era.
don't the woke movement, the woke thing is something different. That's like a black woman thing. That's what
Oh
woke is.
no, I
Like being woke to the game.
sure.
And then it got changed, and then it got taken over.
Yep.
I hate that you're doing it on purpose. I know to elicit a response from me.
But anyway, so my favorite is Xena because I'm looking at all the lists here. I'm like, I watch that all the time. If it was Xena was on,
Enjoy.
like I watch Hercules just because I like most of that universe, a little bit. But like, it definitely didn't have as much of a, I guess, like it didn't have as much of an appeal. Like I like the duo of Gabriel and Xena, and like I guess like her little background they had where she was like used to be like an evil person, like and she's like trying to like redeem herself, I guess, or whatever, her dark heart or whatever. I mean, it's nothing crazy to write home about, but it's like I ate it up as a middle
It's
schooler,
something.
you know.
Something. Yeah,
But
it's something. It's not Shakespeare, but it's something.
sure. All right, let's move on to 96.
Speaking, I didn't tell you what my favorite one is. I gave you a
Oh,
shout
I
out.
thought I thought it was Dr. Katz. I'm sorry.
No, that was just a shout out.
Oh, okay, that's why I went so
Sorry.
long-winded. Go for it. What's your favorite?
Yep. I don't have that much to say about it anyways, and I'm not sure if you've watched it. It was an HBO show called Mr. Show with Bob and David,
No, I
and
have
it
no
was
clue.
it's a sketch comedy show that was like The State, if you remember The State at all from MTV, or
No,
it
vaguely.
was it's just like very kind of like absurd sketch comedy, but really funny stuff. But it's Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, and they spent like a good deal of time being like comedy partners, and so a lot of the sketches are written by them and the same like group of like 4 or 5 other actors and actresses, and they're or comedians really, and they're really good, and they got a return like a second season because they only ever made one season uh through Netflix like 5 years ago, 5 6 years ago, and it was just called, because you can't use Mr. Show because it's HBO. They just called it With Bob and David,
Oh, okay.
and you
Pretty
got
good.
like another season of Mr. Show, which was great, and it was all the same players from the previous, like from the first season, like 20 years
What
prior.
what was
But
you said it was a sketch comedy, so what was unique about it? What would you say was
um, I don't know, like it's because it's Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, like their sense of humor is just like a
okay,
little bit different. And I guess like the characters that they come up with can be like really annoying at first, and then they
okay.
turn like really, really funny. It's like purposely, and they're parodies of things. I don't know if you've ever seen like the infomercial, like in the middle of the night, if you
Oh,
ever
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the guy with like red hair, like curly red hair and suspenders.
Yes, I think I know what
Actually,
you're
now that
talking
I think about it, he sounds like Tucker Carlson, but like red haired and suspenders. And he's like a showman showing you like look at this, the slicer dicer,
about. Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
So Bob Odenkirk does an impression of that, like does a whole sketch devoted to that dude. Oh, it is great. He gets
That
that guy like
that name
perfectly.
sounds so familiar though, Bob Odenkirk.
He is the Saul
Oh,
from Better Call
okay,
Saul,
I
from
know
Breaking
that.
Bad.
I
Yep.
never watched the
He
show, but
got
he
he
was
got
in.
famous much later.
Yeah, I see that. He was on Seinfeld a little bit.
Yep. He also was on SNL. I think he was a writer for SNL for a little while.
Okay.
David Cross was like did his own thing for a while too.
David Cross sounds familiar. Okay. All right. Well, cool.
He's with the glasses and the goatee. That's usually what he looks like. And I actually remember more of their newer sketches too
Oh,
because they were pretty good.
I just saw the with Bob and David thing on here. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
It's cool.
Neat.
It's worth checking out. I'll start sending you clips of that instead of SNL for a little while.
Okay. So
All right.
96. What is your
On to 1996.
positive news
Let's
brief?
when you call it positive news brief, it just you automatically put me on the defensive. Like I gotta be uh okay. Here we go. In let's see where I'm sorry, I lost it. There we go. So in sports news, the Dallas Cowboys are the Super Bowl winners. The New York Yankees win the World Series this year. And as well at Wimbledon, Steffi Graf wins in the women's division, and nobody knows anybody in the men's division that year. But Steffi Graf was a great tennis
Okay.
player. In movies, you got a few really fun ones this year. Fargo, Jerry Maguire, The People versus Larry Flint,
Mhm.
and Sling Blade.
You
So
didn't bring up the Niners winning last year's news brief. I just want
purposely, no, no,
to
no. Sorry.
as far as actresses go, you have Sophie Turner, Sansa from Game of Thrones,
Oh,
born in
she was born
96.
in 95. Or no, sorry,
96.
96.
96.
96.
Anya Taylor Joy from Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
It also
Yep.
voices Princess Peach.
She was
Um,
also in The Witch by 26. That was a really
Haley
good flick.
Steinfeld, which I know her as the new Hawkeye, but she's in a lot of things. She's in a lot of other things. She's in True
Okay.
Grit, I think. There's a movie or something like that, but I know. Oh,
Oh, yeah, she was in the remake
yep.
with Jeff
But
Bridges.
these are the two big ones. Zendaya and Tom Holland were also born in '96.
Zendaya and Tom Holland. Oh,
Yeah.
that I believe. Those they look young. They look like my cousin's children. Like I can associate them with like, older teens. Like that's
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah. So
I can live with that.
that's your. I mean, I'm just giving
It's gonna
out
get
highlight.
worse as we go further.
I'm listing off things that I know. I mean, there's a bunch of things are listed here, but I don't know half these people. So
All right, all right. So tell me, in '96. Also, this is the year that what's it? Rent like wins a bunch of awards. The
oh, okay.
musical Rent.
So
Big splash this year, '96 for it.
I don't
But
know if
okay,
we want to share this one because there's a show on here that I know we both love. But we didn't like it when it premiered. Obviously, it's something that grew, and we talked about this last episode too. So I'm going to say it, and I don't know if it's your favorite or not. But Lily, the answer, because I have another one I can bring up, but it's the Daily
what?
Show. The Daily
It's
Show is
'96.
that's what it listed as. I thought.
Oh, with Craig Kilborn.
Yes, with Craig
With
Kilborn.
Craig Kilborn. Yes. Okay. All
Officially,
right. That makes sense.
Daily Show officially premiered in '96.
Yes. And I did watch this. Did you watch the Craig Kilborn
I
couple
didn't get
years?
into it until Jon Stewart, to be quite honest. So I might have
Well,
got
we can
I
stay
can't remember.
tuned on that one. Um, but with the Craig Kilborn one, it was much more like something that would be like on E.
So
It was much more like trying to be just funny about
got it.
light news and like looking at like news fails, that kind of stuff.
So,
Like
but isn't it the same show and this John just took over? Isn't that how that would
exact
be?
yeah. Yes, it was the same, like the writing staff was there, and like I don't think anybody else got um like the whole place didn't have to like rehire a new set of writers. I think it was just the same writers, and Jon Stewart kind of like helped steward them into being a much more important show. He like pushed them to
Yeah,
make like take the comedy part and push it to be more legitimate and like poking like
yeah,
making real satire instead of just cheap jokes
yeah.
all the time.
Gotcha.
And that's uh,
I mean,
that like
I
I
remember
might as well
loving
just
this
tell
show.
you that's like 1999. That's what I'm going to talk about.
So is that when he took over as '99? Then is that official? That's when
Yeah.
he officially took over. Okay, so I was just basing it
Yes.
on the series release date, but I mean, we can honestly, I'd rather have it at '99.
We'll come back to it.
Sure,
We
let's come
can
back.
talk about the
But yeah,
difference
anyways,
to it.
so that was
But yeah.
listed. That was listed. So I didn't know. I didn't see it on the
Mhm.
list for '99. But anyways, I guess from there, it's actually '96 is a hard year for me to pick a favorite. I mean, I have a bunch
Can
of
I tell
like,
you,
yeah, go for it.
I
Chime in.
forgot one little fun fact to help you out here, just to get in a fun mood. This was also the year that Fox decided to add the glow to the puck in hockey games that it aired, and then whenever the puck goes over 100 miles an hour, it would turn red and streak. So whenever you'd see a slap shot,
Wow, that was back
it
then.
would it would it would do that, but it never seemed to do it as often as you
Did
wanted
they
it
did they
to.
stop doing that? Because I don't remember. I've never really seen that before.
I think they just tried it that year and then they
Oh,
just
okay.
stopped.
Because like I never remember seeing that, but
It was
I
a huge thing. Also,
as
this
far
year, Dexter's Lab came out.
yeah, well, yeah, I gotta say like shout outs like Dexter's Laboratory, Spin City. I watched a lot.
Mhm.
I mean,
I remember Spin City.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I watch a lot. You know, 'cause, like all the TGIF stuff, and obviously we talked about Calissa in the last part. I guess Daily Show was kind of like my go-to for this year. I was like, wasn't sure what else to do. But I guess if I had a pick, I mean, and really honestly, this is true.
Hmm.
Blue's Clues is a big shout out. I watched a lot of Blue's Clues because Tyler was obsessed with Blue's Clues, so I watched
He
a
was
crap load of Blue's Clues.
he's 1 years old at this point,
He is
right?
1 years
He's
old
1
at
or
this
2.
point, and honestly, like I like Blue's Clues. That was a good kid show. I got invested. I'm like, what is the answer to this little game they're playing? I'm curious. I'm like, and I just more like watch my brother. I'm like, are you gonna get it? Like, pretty
Get it
obvious.
right, get it right.
What are they gonna have to drink? There's a lemon in the glass and a straw. What are they having for lunch? um, uh,
Oh,
But you know what? I'm just gonna say this because I don't have anything else to bring up. Beast Wars. That's my answer. I'm gonna answer with that's my answer. My favorite is
just
Beast
give like
Wars.
3
Beast Wars.
3 answers. Okay.
No, I was doing shout outs. I was doing shout outs.
Alright, alright. Beast Wars is a great show.
Beast Wars is my favorite.
Very,
I couldn't
very
find anything else in this year.
Mhm. I watched the hell out of that, and then I was so excited when the next show was gonna come out, which was supposed to be a sequel, and it was, like, completely different and very
Oh, you
little
know.
had to do with the previous show, so it was like, "Oh, gosh, that kinda sucks."
No, I thought it was
But
great. I don't have to spend the time
my
talking about it.
my favorite for this year was Dexter's Laugh,
Okay.
because I still watch this show. I still, like,
Good show.
will put it on if I can, or if it's on, I'll stop and watch it. Also, this was the year Pappyland came out, and I watched a lot of that, actually. I'm afraid to admit, but
I watched Babylon Land
I
too.
w
Don't worry about it. Other thing.
I didn't buy Pappy's humor, but I just wanted to see what he was drawing because I like watching people draw. So, yeah, it's
I watched the
Pappy.
Pappy. Don't worry. I get it. But no, Beast Wars. Honestly, I have to say there's some really good Transformers in that, and like the Velociraptor
Mhm.
character, great stuff. They're actually the movie that's coming out this year for Transformers is going to be based on the show. So I'm like, well, it's going to have
Oh,
references to
really?
that. They're bringing in the other Optimus Prime with the gorilla version anyway. So,
But,
but
didn't they all have different, like, slightly different names? So,
yeah,
it wasn't Optimus Prime, he was, like,
Optimus Beta.
Optimus Kong?
I don't know. I can look it up. But no, I just remember like
Oh,
if that was on, I would definitely watch. Plus, it was like I think it was pretty for that era. Like it was pretty good CGI animation. I think it was actually not
yeah,
bad for the
it
time,
was
right? You know, it's like
interesting to look at. You wanted
uh,
to see it, yeah,
it was
no
very
doubt.
very barren. I guess backgrounds like just a lot of jagged rocks. But like,
Oh, talk about what were we doing the other day when they said it looked like a Counter Strike background?
yeah, yeah.
That show was all, like, filmed in, like, the dust level of Counter Strike.
I don't see. I just was checking really quick. It's still
Hmm,
Megatron. Dinobot was the Velociraptor. Optimus
yeah,
Primal. That
Primal. I remember, was it Bumblebee was, like, kind of like a cheetah?
Cheetor and
Cheetor?
Blacker China, Rhinox, Starscream, Arizar, Scorponox, Waspinator, Rampage,
Or Squ
Pterosaur, Depth Charge, Quick Strike, Tarantulas, Vok, Inferno. Those are the ones they don't have pictures for. I don't think they're that big.
yeah.
That was kind of the list of them. But no, I would watch that show all the time. I would just try to make sure it was on. But I don't have a ton to say about it except it's a good show.
All right. I think it's time we moved. Well, yeah, let's go on to 1997 and then we'll take a little
Sure.
break. Um so 97, a few big shows start in 97. So, um was there anything in particular that stood out to you? Let me get
What do we
my
have? What's our news break?
okay. Uh, was trying to.
Who's trying to get it? Okay.
Are you- okay, I have. So this is the year that the Detroit Red Wings they beat the Flyers for the Stanley Cup, and it's like the first time in a long time Detroit has won a cup, and that is an amazing team this year. 1997 Detroit Red Wings. They were like Olympic level, like all of them. They were crazy good.
Cool.
Green Bay Packers beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl this year.
I mean, they're all on
Florida
TV,
Marlins.
so it kind of fits the show, right?
Yep. In the NBA, Chicago Bulls, of course.
Of course.
This is we are in the are we in the Jordan years here?
Well, this is the
97?
last one.
Okay.
So it's the Last Dance.
Mhm. Oh, okay, yes, it is based on 1997. Okay. And lastly, this year, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is published in the UK,
Philosopher's Stone.
1997.
I didn't know it was originally called the Philosopher.
Yep.
I guess that makes sense.
It comes to the US in 98 as the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Well, as
So,
far as fun birthdays, which I did, this is
mm,
interesting. Maisie Williams, older,
okay,
yep, because she's a year younger than Sophie Turner.
Sansa.
Sansa.
Yeah,
Jake Paul, he was born.
okay. You have to
uh,
know the whole family of these jerks too.
there wasn't a lot in this year that I really knew except for Maisie was like the only really one. I thought there was I think. Oh no, there was one other one on this list that I saw. Thought it was Ben Stark, but maybe that's next year. But yeah, I don't have any other ones. Maisie Williams is like the only really big one this year that I could find.
Okay.
But anyway,
So do you have any shout outs for 1997? Are there any that you're
1997. Um, Ally McBeal honestly is a shout out. I used to watch that
oh my
show
gosh, what a
religiously,
crazy show.
and
You
I
know,
there was a friend of mine that I'm going to shout you out. You're listening. I know you are. Like we would quote this show all the time, and it was just like we got sucked into the whole like cliff, like just like that, those types of show with the ever arcing story
mhm,
slash like romance things that happen, but quirky things that happen that sort of references that carry through each episode, and like uh, we would just like quote that thing. I have no like the show is just so bonkersly weird. Like it was just like it was just quirky and odd, and all the characters were really just weird in a lawyer setting. You know what I mean? It was never serious. They never had any like really. I don't think they ever really had any kind of serious uh
oh, like special
cases
episode. Yeah.
or anything like that. It was all about like dealing with a firm and like almost like The Office, but in a firm. Like like that was kind of like, but not like in the sense of the same format as The Office where they interviewed the people, but like it just was like just silly antics in a lawyer in a lawyer film. That's really the best way I could describe it. But in a serious way, it's really odd.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I think what most people associate with that show is CGI dancing baby.
oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was like that's what
What
that's
I know that is associated with it, and she like dances with this CGI baby at the end of an
yeah, I
episode.
forgot about that.
Why? Do you remember why she does that? Like, I know it's
It had
completely
to
out of
do
context.
it's kind of out of it's I don't remember. Um,
Okay.
like she
I'm
does
just recognizing that it is completely out
it
of context that people just see like, "Oh, look, CGI dancing baby, how random." It's like,
yeah.
no,
I think
I think it
she's
was
like
part of a larger story,
I think
but
she maybe I could be completely wrong, and I feel like she like maybe thought she was pregnant or something, or like she did have a lot of like daydream things a lot, so it's like I feel like that was that too.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
it is.
but I can't remember exactly why there was a dancing baby. Now I
Like,
want to know
why
why.
specifically was it a yeah, like, I assume it's like it reminds me of, what was that show? Uh, well, kind of like Parker Lewis Can't Lose a little bit, like, the rules of the world are bent, every now and then.
I don't.
But anyways, okay, alright.
That was a
So
that was
you
a
that
shout out.
was
But
a
I know
nice
we
shout out.
spent a little time on that. Which what do you have a shout out?
Uh, 2, because I don't know when else I would talk about them, but, Daria, for one.
I saw that on
I
there.
I liked her show. I watched her show a lot when it was just, like, the Daria show. I don't remember her that much on Beavis and Butthead, like, where she got started. She was kind of like a
Oh,
background
I didn't know she was
character.
on there. Okay.
Yeah, that's where she comes from. Uh, and the whole joke, why her name is Daria to begin with, is so that they could say diarrhea. You see? This is, like, the whole reason why she's named Daria.
Oh my god. Okay.
But anyway, that was a fun show, as well as, King of the Hill. Those were 2
I
that,
like Kid on the Hill. I it was never like my
I
favorite
didn't watch.
thing.
Yeah, I never watched it religiously like Simpsons, but, I would watch it occasionally, like, if it came up after The Simpsons,
So
in the animation block.
South Park came out this year. I love South Park when it came out. Like there's a lot of shows that actually came out this year, but it was harder really if you would pick a favorite because there's a lot of like ones that I spent a lot of time with this year.
Is it your favorite too?
I don't know, maybe in South Park. South Park is not my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just put it here because it was a good background. It's close. If this other show didn't come out, I probably might have picked South Park or another one. But South Park is a shout out. But I can let you talk about it if you want to talk about it first.
We've talked about South Park plenty of times before, and this is my favorite, so I'll just say I love South Park. I love it more and more. I
Sure.
love how it's changed into this, like, weekly commentary on our world and society, and it's like the jokes are always there, which is hard to do, but they are a funny group of
I,
people
I
that
can't believe they're
put
still.
together that show.
It's amazing these animated shows they last forever, and like
Mhm.
well, a lot of them do, right? South Park being one of them now. But it's
Yep.
crazy how that show just like it blew up. Like I don't even know how it was marketed. Like we all just all of a sudden found it. It's like I
'Cause it
remember.
was like a dirty cartoon, like kids acting like real kids, like swearing and, show and it was like Comedy Central pushing the envelope too with language because a lot of that stuff they would bleep out or, it's crazy how much that's changed as well.
I remember like being
But
excited for the pilot. Like there was like a marketing push for
yeah.
something. Like and that
Well, did
pilot
you
was a
see the
lot.
short? Because they aired the short on Fox, I think, first or someplace they aired the short. Maybe it was Comedy Central. Um, but like the original, what was it? Santa versus Jesus?
Oh, was that a short?
Like
I don't. Maybe I
yeah,
just
I think it
remember
was like
my
the first
first
episode.
time seeing it and knowing that I wanted to watch it because it was like you had to really make because like then you had to like make sure you're there to watch it. Like you couldn't miss it.
Yep, everybody was
And
talking.
it was the alien probe episode.
Yes,
That was
yes,
that was the pilot. And
yes.
I remember just like being just the funniest thing ever. Like where everyone was like talking about it at school, and obviously it
Mm,
was just became this like every once in a while there'd be a south we would like either like we just would discuss the episode of the week slash
mhm.
big event that might happen like the Christmas episode with whatever that poop thing I can't remember
Mr. Hanky, the
Mr.
Christmas
Hank.
poo. He loves me, and I love you.
But like so many things like Mechagia oh not Mechagia Mech
Mecha, oh,
God
Barbara Streisand.
Mega yeah but like just or just like all those things. There's so many iconic episodes, and the one that I over years because I mean obviously I stopped watching after a while, but it's like the Warcraft one gets me all the time. Like
Oh yeah.
that one makes me
Sad,
cry.
Dad.
But I know there's a lot of good ones still, and I should probably go back once in a while. But like, yeah, it is an amazing episode. It's hard for me to like pick above it, pick against it. But the other one I've watched every episode. This show I've watched
Okay,
every single one. I
so
want
what
to
is
shout
your
out Buffy
favorite?
the Vampire Slayer. I was a big fan of that too. But
Oh
that's
yeah,
not my
a lot of
favorite.
people like the Buffy.
Stargate SG-1. I can't not pick Stargate SG-1. Like it's such a big part of me and my wife's life. Like and plus I literally watched every episode and continue to watch it. Like you get it. It's really really good. Like it gets good. I mean, the ending is you could criticize the last few seasons maybe, but it's like you've already gotten so far into it. It's like you still like it. You know, it's like you just want to keep going because you like a lot of the actors and characters. But just the chemistry between uh all I know you love your movie and you can't imagine recasting things. But like the chemistry of that group of cast, even though they were casting all the characters from the movie, they
Yeah.
were such a good chemistry of actors, and like I just can't imagine that group being anyone else. And like it really like you once you get past that second season, first season's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but that show just finally got off its feet. But then it went through like broadcast hell. Like it got canceled off HBO, thrown around, bounced around, and couldn't get its footing as far as a show. I think it went to the CW. What's the CW now? I can't remember what it's called then. And then it finally
Oh,
got. I got
to the WB
was
or
it? I
even
think it was the
before that?
WB. I think it was the WB. But it finally, I guess, got repicked up in the fourth season. So I really honestly think that's main reason why it faltered because it was stuck on HBO for a while, so no one could watch it because the pilot was on HBO. It's like the pilot's like rated R. Like you can't put it on regular television.
Why?
It's
Why?
there's
Like for
nudity, there's like violence, there's like like because they do like the
oh,
whole like putting the thing in the stomach, the little alien.
oh,
Yeah, so
okay. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like they there's a scene where they just strip the girl down. She's just standing there butt naked, and they do a ceremony on her. Like it's the pilot's a little bit more risque, and then they finally like obviously they kind of simplified it a little bit more so it could be on more network stations. But anyways, great show. I know I've told you to watch it a million times. I know you won't, but definitely my favorite for that year for sure.
You know, I did try to watch Atlantis when it started. I got in like the first 3,
Land's good.
4 episodes and then I just fell off. It just didn't work for me it's the kind of show like nowadays it would have been like, oh, I would have just binged it. I would have just watched a bunch of episodes in a row.
But
But like as in a weekly format and it being so long, it was like, oh
well, here's
gosh,
the
like
thing.
there's
I never watched it in the weekly format. I watched it after the fact. Like my wife
you watched it on the DVDs, I'm
Amber had
assuming, right?
every episode. Like
Yep.
she had all of them. When I met her, Atlantis was just finishing. So like I was like way behind. So like I didn't by the time I finished all the episodes because it's 12 seasons I think of SG-1 because you really can't watch Atlantis until you finish 8 seasons of SG-1 because like what happens in SG-1 affects Atlantis. And then eventually
Oh, okay.
then there's like there's 3 seasons that they kind of overlap, so they're kind of like affecting each other as things are going on. And then eventually after that they do uh, Stargate Universe, which is I don't know, it was all right. Anyways, but that's all I got.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to speak on it. I think at this point, it's a good time. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll finish out the decade with 98, 99, and our overall favorite pick. We're back. All right, Justin, here we go. We've got 2 years left to go. We're starting with 1998. Let me tell you a couple of things that happened in 1998. Things that you may be familiar with.
Sure.
Well, first of all, Titanic becomes the highest grossing film of all time,
Yeah, we talked about it. You still haven't watched it yet.
raking in more than $580 million domestically. All right. And the other big piece of news, uh, about 76 million people tune in to watch the last episode of Seinfeld because
Wow. Okay.
Seinfeld is over
Yeah,
in
we couldn't
1990.
talk about Seinfeld in this. It's like, to me, like, that speaks the 90s, but we couldn't because it came out technically in 89.
Yep, even though, like, in the background, Seinfeld is dictating culture, like,
Yeah.
everybody is talking
I mean,
Seinfeld
if I had to pick, would
behind
you
all of these episodes.
you brought it up, would you pick Seinfeld as your favorite 90s because if it was in the running?
If it was in the running, yeah, it's like the 90s show
Yeah.
to me. I've been thinking some people gravitate more towards Friends and some people gravitate more towards Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's a
It's like
better
the Elvis
show.
versus Beatles debate,
Friends is
and
not
I
funny.
gravitate. Yeah, I don't like Friends,
And I
alright?
I watch
I'm not
Friends. I was
alone.
a Friends watcher, and I watch Friends every week, but I've seen Friends without the laugh track, and they're a bunch of assholes. Now, Seinfeld are a bunch of assholes, but you don't need a laugh track to know that, and that's what makes it
Yes, it's a
funny.
balance, yeah. Seinfeld Seinfeld is actually telling good jokes
Sure.
using funny characters, and Friends is just not funny.
If you like Seinfeld,
Oh.
like and
Oh, I'm
subscribe.
so glad that you're on my
Like
side
like
with
it's
this.
of course I would be. I would
I get so many looks from people, especially people, like, a couple years older than us.
Sure.
They're
Friends was
like, they look at us like,
Friends are pretty big. Friends was a pretty big show back then. Anyways, that's
yeah,
not what we're here to talk about. That was not on
that's
any of our lists.
nope, and that's
Um
the last time we'll ever talk about that show.
as far as some notable birthdays, Jaden Smith was born.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you know who that
Next.
is.
Yeah,
He's a popular person.
yes. Oh, Jaden Smith from After Earth?
Yes, from after. Ariel Winter was born from Modern Family, and she's also the voice of Sophia the First. That's why I wanted to bring her up.
Oh, okay. Alright, I think I know who that is.
She's the Modern Family daughter that has like the glasses.
Mm.
And then there's one more on here. It is. Oh, where did he go? Maybe I lost him. Is it here? No, I thought there was one more I wanted to bring up, but I guess I can't find him now. But yeah, there wasn't a lot. There wasn't, like, again, they're getting so much younger that they're not as popular. I mean,
Okay.
Dakota Fanning's daughter was born, so there's that on
Dakota Fanning's daughter?
there. Or no, her
Or
sister.
sister?
Sorry,
Oh.
not her daughter. Oh, and Michael Jackson's daughter was born. Paris Jackson. She was
Oh. I have no idea who that is.
born. Michael
Couldn't
Jackson.
pick him out of a
Michael
well, I couldn't pick Paris Jackson out of a crowd.
Sure,
I don't know.
I guess.
I think that was kind of the point, was to keep them out of the public eye.
I
Um,
thought Carl from Walking Dead was born. Maybe that's 99. We'll get there eventually. But anyways, that's it. That's all I got.
yep. Oh, one last thing. Frank Sinatra died too.
Oh,
All right. Let's go
thanks
on.
for brightening the mood.
Not that I'm making fun of it. It's just
So before you start talking about something,
positive.
98.
Mhm.
I am confused. This is not really a shout out. I watch this show a lot. But I'm confused because in my understanding, this show came out way earlier. But according to the list on Wikipedia, and I double checked this, supposedly the Roseanne show came out in 98.
Oh, really? Roseanne?
Yeah, like I thought that show was like way earlier than that. Does that seem late?
98? Oh, I would have thought it was like almost late 80s the way it looked.
Because
Like it's been around for a long time. It
yeah,
can't be.
but that's what
Come on.
the Roseanne show. Unless it's
No, there might be a
oh,
different
you
show
know
called
what?
the
This is
Roseanne
the
Show.
talk show. This is the talk show, Roseanne. This is the talk
Okay,
show.
Roseanne was
Okay.
started in 1988.
This is then they were referencing the talk show when I saw
Yeah.
it on the
Okay.
list. So I
Phew!
was just baffled by it for a second. I'm like, no, there's no way that came out this year. But
No, it
okay,
was just
now we
called
click.
Roseanne.
We confirm that. Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's all I want. Go yeah, you can start. What's your favorite? What's your shout out? What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I've got one shout out. I don't have much to say about it, but again, it's a kind of animation. It's Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh, I had that on the list too.
It's
Yeah.
the first one
Good
with
one.
Marilyn Manson versus Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Uh, And then it becomes like a theme that Marilyn Manson is like the badass winner of all matches, like as time goes by.
It started with the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We've talked about Celebrity Deathmatch before. But
Mhm.
yeah, like I didn't get to the later seasons. I feel like there was a point where they just didn't they just do a show at one point? Like it was actually like it wasn't just the Super Bowl event, and then they had the seasons, and it was
Yeah,
like
it was like
weekly.
they did, and then they had like a storyline between the announcers,
Hmm.
and then the one with the mustache was like becoming an alcoholic or something, and
Yes,
like
yeah.
getting in trouble, and like his family was leaving him. Something, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? I didn't want this.
They had so many great matchups for that, and they were so like it was in that like it was clever, but it was also just immature at the same time. Like I mean, it's
Yeah,
like you know what I
yes.
mean?
It's like
Um,
Crank Yankers.
Yeah, it was that was like my runner up for my background was just the death match cage behind me. Like I was
Oh, that would have been good.
I,
Yes.
I couldn't find a good picture. I was just trying to think of like my favorite match was. I want to see if there's like an easy thing to figure out like what those like what matches just to remember. But yeah, I remember like
Remember the match
Gallagher
with
was
Puff
one of
Daddy?
them, and he kept like doing like the like sledgehammer with the watermelon.
Yes.
Um, yeah, Charles Manson versus Marilyn Manson was the first one. And then they had Howard Stern was in versus Kathy Lee Gifford, I guess.
Oh, I do remember that.
Pam Anderson versus RuPaul. Hanson versus the Spice Girls, and then they were
Do.
crushed by Marilyn Manson.
Yes. Totally.
On Wikipedia, it shows each fight for each episode. It's kind of funny.
Nice.
Bill Clinton versus Paula Jones.
Oh my gosh.
Jim Carrey versus Mariah Carey. I guess I don't know why. And
That whole
it features Drew Carey as well.
picture.
Um, let's see. There's the Tim and Jerry Seinfeld. They're spectators. This is Jerry. I think Jerry Springer maybe. I don't know. I'm confused by that one. But anyways. Oh yeah, because they all come out at the end, like all the Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Michael Richards. They all come out on the show. Yeah, there's some funny ones on here. But yeah, that was a good show. Anyways, good times.
That show, yeah, that's my shout out, and the only thing that I can say is my favorite from 1998 is Sports Night, which
I,
was a
I wish that show lasted longer. I think it
Me
only
Too.
got like one or two
It was
seasons.
Yeah, I think it got 2 seasons, and then, like and I think even maybe it got 3 seasons, I don't know. But, yeah, a lot of, like, young actors, and just it was really, a fun and fast, quick-witted show. Like, the quintessential Aaron Sorkin style of, like, talking and
Mm-hmm.
acting.
No, it's a good show.
Uh,
I remember
it
liking it a
is.
lot, but it was like I didn't list it because I it didn't get that the longevity. And I couldn't really remember the show. I just remember liking it. Like I remember like talking to like friends about it, like saying, "Oh, this is really good," and then we were like bummed it didn't get renewed.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, recite any lines from it, like, any catchphrases or something like Seinfeld, like, I couldn't just, like, quote the show, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's a good, if you liked the, West Wing, then you should definitely watch Sports Night, if you like that style of fast-paced drama and comedy dialogue, but what about you?
I have a
Any other shout
shout
out?
out for Powerpuff Girls. Love the Powerpuff
Ooh,
Girls.
good choice,
Yeah, that was
yes.
good.
Sure.
A funny shout out, which I just confirming if I'm correct on this. Yes, I was. So there was a live action Mortal Kombat show that I used to watch. It was Mortal Kombat Core
Oh,
Combat Conquest. It was so bad and cheesy. It was in that Xena style, like it kind of had that vibe to it. Like it was just
oh my
campy and
gosh, I don't think I've seen that,
oh
no.
yeah, I watched it. I watched it a lot. Like I could watch it enough to say I watched more than one episode. Let's put it that way. Like I
Oh,
think like I stumbled on it. They were doing like three. They were doing like a little marathon thing or something like that. I was like, oh, this is neat. Like it's Mortal Kombat. live action is cool. Like, because the movie I think probably had just come out, and I'm like, I wanted more of that. So it was so cheesy though. It was so trying to find pictures of it if I could see, but yeah,
Mortal
yeah,
Kombat
it
TV
was
show.
definitely.
I remember the Mortal Kombat cartoon, which was equally boring, I'm sure, but at least it was like a, animated action cartoon, so it was more interesting to watch. But I didn't really,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
it's
remember the show now.
convoluted
So I just want to
premise.
shout that out because I thought it was funny. I just want to see if you actually watched it. But my favorite, which I honestly was surprised, this one released in '98.
What's that?
That '70s show,
In '98,
Th-
really?
hands
Huh,
down, easy one pick. I love that freaking show, and I've been obsessed with rewatching it lately. Like I got
it's a silly show.
it's a great show though. It is funny. Kitty and Red are great.
Mhm.
All like yeah, Ashton Kutcher's character is always good. Like all the cast in that show is really really good. Like I mean, I love that show when I was younger, but then lately I kind of got interested in that '90s show just out of like curiosity, just to see
Yeah,
how that would pan out. And because I started like looking into that show, it made me like all these like best of that '70s YouTube videos, and I got like obsessed watching them. So I'm like, this show was so freaking good. It was funny.
took you down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and like then I ended up watching that '90s show, and I actually had a really good time with that too, because like it was more about Red and Kitty mostly being in the '90s, and a lot of references of things that we would
It
understand.
looks Yeah, it doesn't look bad, right? That's the newest one you're talking about, that
Yeah,
90s
yeah, the one
show.
on Netflix. So it's like I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's like mind blowing,
No, no, no.
but it
Looks like
was
a competent
there was enough
sitcom.
callbacks to the original show to make it fun, and you got used to understanding the newer characters. It's hilarious that he names his daughter Leia like that to me because
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. But anyway, so that '70s show was great. There's just so many like great moments in that show that are hilarious that are really fun to watch. And I was surprised also how long that show lasted.
Mhm.
Because it went to
Went
like
on for a while.
2006, and then I learned about like how like what's his name left the show, um, Topher Grace, because he was doing the movies and stuff, and then he just never came back. And Kushner was barely in the last season because he was
Yep.
getting famous, and then it just kind of fell apart at the end there,
Ashton
unfortunately.
Kutcher.
Yeah, but they reprised their roles, which I thought was cool. The only one they didn't was Hyde because he's going through a whole like scandal right now.
Well,
Um,
yeah, they don't Danny Masterson is not gonna be near anybody.
yeah, sure.
I think everyone has a restraining order against him of some
Well,
kind.
I don't think it's officially been like completed the trial, but yeah, that's not that great.
I don't think
But
there's been a trial. I think there's just been
oh,
a lot of
they delayed the trial.
accusations.
I think. Anyways, that's the end of it. Yeah, I think they're doing it this year. But anyways, but yeah, it's a good show.
Trial, Andy Masterson.
that
That'll be a
90
good TV event to talk about when we do the
sure
the decades year of the 2020s.
sure when we get to doing that.
20s.
But yeah, the night '70s show is a great show. Love that show. The '90s show will be getting a second season too, so be curious to see that.
Well, then I think you need to go and give that '80s show a chance.
No, oh my god, I read
Why?
about it. I read about it just to see, and I was like, I can't. It was so bad.
What's so bad about it? I don't understand. You love all these this idea of a show.
Because
Why?
I seen like what it looks like, and I read some things on it, and they just I don't know. It just didn't.
I think you should give it another chance. All right, Justin, let's
Anyways,
leave 1998 in the rear view. Let's
sure.
talk about our last year here, 1999, a year of of much worry and doubt. The world waits the consequences of the potential Y2K bug. Many
Yeah. You remember that? Seriously?
conspiracy theorists and people thinking it's Armageddon. Even people who have no concept of
Well,
how dates work.
what
Uh,
was your whole opinion on that thing? Like, what was your thought?
I was home and I
Yeah,
watched it on TV
yeah,
and
me
I was
too.
like, "Cool," and I went to bed. I
I
was
was
like,
like,
I kind of just like held my breath for a second, and like looked around, I'm like, "Yep." All right. Good night. Like
Yeah.
everything's fine.
I remember like being up with my parents too, because we all were like curious to see like
I
what's
was
really
on
gonna
the
happen.
couch, either like with my parents and like my aunt and my grandma all in the living room, just watching.
Right.
And it comes on and everyone says Happy New Year. And like my parents and my aunt and my grandma are my grandma's like, what the hell? Like she has no concept of what the Y2K bug was, you know? Like she was like, what is everybody getting so upset about? Like she's like, it'll be fine.
What other noteworthy things happened in 99?
This was
Anything?
also Wayne Gretzky, the great, probably the greatest hockey player to ever play the sport. Wayne Gretzky's last game ever. And what's important to us, Justin, is that he chose to retire as a New York Ranger because that was what he wanted. That was where his friends were, and he'd always had a great respect for the
He
Rangers.
played for a lot of different teams though, right? I know he was
No, not really. He played for the Oilers with Mark
okay.
Messier,
Did he play the Kings at one point?
and then he went to the Kings,
Okay.
and then he, made the Kings a formidable team for many years, and then he came to New York.
Cool.
We got him. It was like just awesome to have him and Messier on the same team for a while. They didn't win the Stanley Cup that year, but it was still,
It was still cool.
yeah, it was cool.
Well,
This is also this. There's a lot of TV that's coming out in 1999 as well. But go on. What
really?
do you guys
Well, birthdays we have Ben Stark was born
think?
from
Who?
Ben Stark from Game of Thrones.
Ben Stark.
Isaac
Oh,
Hempstead Wright was born in 1999. The
Ben Stark or Bran Stark?
Oh, Bran Stark. Sorry.
Brandon. Yeah, Bran Stark.
Yep. And then Carl, Walking Dead.
Coral.
Chandler Riggs was born.
Coral.
There's that the list is very short for famous people on Google. There's not a lot. It's like 10 people.
Yeah, I mean, the next big show that has a brilliant kid actor in it, that'll be the next person on the list.
When was Bella Ramsey born? That's the next person,
There you go.
right?
Or who's
Yeah.
the young woman who plays Wednesday?
Oh, Audrey.
Not Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, but they're very similar in
Is it
demeanor.
Audrey?
I think it's no, maybe it's not Audrey. I know once I see the name, she's gonna be in the new Beetlejuice movie too.
OMG, new Beetlejuice movie.
Yep, they're bringing it back. Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega. Yep.
Um, but anyways,
Okay.
let's talk about our final
So
year.
yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. I got a couple shout outs.
Okay.
I'm gonna shout them out real quick. One of my favorite cooking shows ever made is Good Eats with Alton Brown. And especially the early seasons of it, where it was really like put together, it almost
Wait.
felt like a
Wait,
local TV station.
you said your favorite cooking show in the early seasons because you season your
Gosh, you really just like stop me
food.
to give me that.
Good
You
help.
should be ashamed of yourself. Good night, Justin. So yeah, Good Eats. It's a great show. It was funny. It looked like it was just like put together like God,
I
like
made you laugh. I made you laugh. It's all
public
matters.
television. Yes, like somebody making it for public television, which I think is how he got started. But yeah, I think he still occasionally makes it. He's got a prolific YouTube channel and
Did you bring this
um
up in our favorite like which did you bring this up before? Was this a show you brought up before? Good Eats?
maybe might have been with favorite TV
It was like
shows or
favorite bad
something.
TV show because you had a lot of cooking shows in that episode.
No, no, for that one was Hell's Kitchen. I brought that one up.
I think you had two of them, but okay.
I think I
Anyways,
brought up. It's not bad TV. Good Eats
okay.
is great.
I want to even shout out. This is not a TV show, but it was on the list.
What's that?
It's Happy Tree Friends. Do you remember this?
Friends.
Do you
A
remember
little bit.
those flash animated like cute creatures that would get like murdered in like horrific ways?
Yes. Yes, this is like the beginning of like animation, like computer animation like
Sure.
that. That's like on Newgrounds and stuff, like
Hmm.
hosted like on these independent sites are starting to get like
Yeah.
traction
Oh
as
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
The
a lot of people are watching
The Star Wars Wrap came out around this time, and
this.
but I thought that was funny that on the TV like series premieres that was listed. I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about this.
Mhm.
Um,
Crazy.
but there the 99 did not have a huge selection for me. There's some three big ones that came out, but there wasn't a lot else that came out that year that I even knew about, to be quite honest. But I don't. I have a hard time picking the favorite, but I'm gonna. Can I let do you? Have you have a favorite? So I can,
I do. I do. I already said my favorite for this. I have one other shout out, but
oh, I thought that was your shout out. I apologize.
what?
I thought you
Oh
said
no,
Good Eats was your favorite.
no, it was my shout out. It's my
Oh,
shout out.
oh, okay.
I've got one more shout out, and then I have the favorite.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
My shout out, the other one, is The Sopranos.
Oh, I did see that. I have not watched
I know it's a mafia show, so you're not gonna
that.
wanna watch it, but it's a good show, and I actually went back and watched it again, like, not terribly long ago, just, like, started from the beginning and went all the way through it, and it, like, holds up as, like, a really amazing story, like, the mafia is just, like, part of the setting, the mafia bits, and, like, a lot of it is just, like, human nature. I don't know, it's weird. It's a good show.
I know people say
It's
that
much more than what it seems on paper.
many people told me. I mean, I had no way to watch it back then for sure. I mean, I didn't
Mhm.
have HBO, but I mean, I
Nope.
had no desire to go back and check it. I get it. It's probably great. But I'm the same like with a lot of those kind of shows, like Breaking Bad. I've never watched because everyone talks about it, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, it just.
Yep. That's one I'll never get around to.
But yeah, I don't. But that was your shout out, right? Or is that
Yes.
okay?
Do you
So
wanna hear do you want
I,
to go? You
I
punch
will. I'm going to list out Batman Beyond as my shout out.
Okay. Very good show.
That was a very good show. I love the futuristic version of that. It was
Mhm.
cool just to get
Full suit.
more Batman, all that stuff. Uh, and obviously it led to some really good movies later on, of
Yep.
course. Um,
Absolutely.
but this is where I get stuck. There's two that came out this year, and I think I'm leaning to one over the other. But I'm curious what your favorite is first before I say it.
I'll tell you what my favorite is. My favorite, as I said before, is The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Oh, I was like, wait, what did you say your favorite? I'm like, I
Surprise.
didn't remember. See, I don't have that listed here because I forgot that we even talked about that like what 40 minutes ago.
Ba-dum-bum. That's, yep, it is it for all the reasons I stated before about how after Craig Kilborn left the show, Jon Stewart, like, whipped that writing room into shape and, like, challenged them to be bigger than just, like, cheap jokes all the time, and to actually, like, do the research and make it something worth watching. And yes, it's funny because for the longest time, this is where I got my real news
Yeah,
because I relied on the comedians who, were, informing themselves. There were smart people informing themselves and then presenting it in a humorous way. And it just it worked
yeah,
between that and Stephen Colbert's The Colbert Report. Like that was what Kristen and I watched when we first like lived together in New Jersey. That was what we watched
oh yeah.
every
Me
night
and Amber
together. Like
watched
sometimes we
the
would just
daily.
watch it and eat dinner
Yeah,
and like
we would watch both. Like we'd watch both in a
yep,
row.
one after the other.
And that was another place I would get my news. Like, and I would say later in life, like 99, I get my news from her, but I watched it for the funny bits and the funny
Yep.
interviews and like you had some really good. Obviously Stephen Colbert started off as a one of the what do they call the reporters, I
Like
guess,
a
on there. Yeah,
correspondent.
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 But like there's some really great correspondence on that show. Like, and some of them
Mm.
I kind of wish they got bigger, like, after time. Like, like you don't really see him again after a while, but like they, it's such a smart show. Even with the newer hosts, like I actually like the replacement of John Stewart with a Noah
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. I liked him
Yeah,
too. It took a little get
he's
used
fun.
to him, but nothing beats John Stewart. Like, in the way he just, I don't know, his energy that could go up and down, like the levels of it, and like it was so freaking good.
And
But
you
yeah,
knew he was being there was just something about him that was genuinely being, like, genuine, being honest,
yeah,
not trying to pull one over you or, like, pull a fast one over people or try to present a persona that he's not. He's just trying to
yeah.
I don't
That,
know.
that
He
was
seemed
Steve. That
like a
was
really
Stephen
genuine.
Colbert. Did the persona.
Yes, and that was, like, what was so funny about it was that he was this ultra conservative, like, even scary to regular conservatives.
Yeah.
It's
Was
and
Colbert like
it's
what?
funny.
Like, was that like 2003 then? When did he?
Oh, I think it was much later than that, 2010,
Okay.
2008, maybe 2009. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
that still remains my favorite
Okay.
show of
I'd like to
1999.
take that one with you, but I'm going to say a different one just to make it more fun. I think I felt kind of bad because I'm like, wait, did I not listen to his favorite? Like, I missed his favorite. Where did it go? You look.
It's just that we brought it up and talked it a little bit before. So
So there's
I was like, "Well, stay tuned," but go for it.
got it. Okay, so there's two really big shows that were one of them still being aired nowadays. The two shows that I'm trying to figure out between, and I think I'm going to lean to this one is
Degrassi.
Futurama is one, and what were we going to say?
Degrassi.
Degrassi, and Family Guy was the other. That those were both released in '99. So I have
Wow.
to say Futurama though. I feel like that's like probably like the other Daily Show with Jon Stewart for sure. But I kind of said that earlier, I guess. But I loved Futurama. Like, I could probably rewatch that over and over again. There's some really good
It
stuff in
is
there.
it is really good. It is really, really funny. I feel like I didn't watch enough of it when it was first on. It would
Yeah.
and then when it got to Comedy Central is when I started to actually watch it.
Well, Adult Swim is when I got really sucked into it too, because it came to Adult
Yeah.
Swim at one point, right?
Yep.
So it's like same thing with Family Guy. Like, I don't remember watching a Family Guy that
Yep.
much, and
Exactly.
like I remember like liking it, but like I never would. I just didn't, because like that was like when we were transitioning a few years later was when we were going to college. Like, I remember when I went to college, I couldn't watch any of this stuff because that college I went to didn't have these stations.
Yep.
I had nowhere to watch them, but on Futurama, I feel like is smarter than I think people realize at times.
Mhm.
There's so much good parody in that, or good satire in a sense, like as far as like using the future to speak on what's happening in the present. Um,
Absolutely.
but there, but also just poking fun at just like sci-fi in general at the same time, so you add that extra layer behind it. But it's really good. I feel like I like Futurama more than Family Guy had some really funny moments, but there's a point where it's almost like Family Guy's humor was more shock humor, where it's like they would just do something completely out of left field that had no. It really wasn't smart. It was more just random. It wasn't like, as smart as like I guess Futurama's humor could be. But like that's why I kind of lean that
I don't know. I agree though. Futurama for sure. Like that's a such a such a great show. What do you I mean, have you this is a little off topic, but just kind of on topic. Have you watched Disenchanted at all?
more. No, I don't know that. Oh, you know what? I remember seeing ads
Or
for it.
Disenchantment? I don't know.
I did see ads for it, but no, I have not seen
I tried the first episode. Maybe I need to try a different one.
it. Okay.
Maybe it's like Futurama or, like The Simpsons. Like you gotta kind of get past the first couple
Is that
seasons.
the same? That
So
the
they
same
go
the same
through.
creator then for that?
Yeah, it's like this similar like group of people from Futurama working on it, and Matt Groening.
Okay, gotcha. But I can't.
So it's
I
all like sword and sorcery, fantasy.
Sure.
So
Or you can just watch more Futurama. Let's do that instead.
that's true.
or
That's
go
true.
go back to season 5 of The Simpsons and just watch
All right, Justin, here
that.
we
Yeah,
go.
final one.
Last question. Overall, between 1990 all the way up to 1999, time now to figure out which is our favorite of the decade.
I
Now,
don't know.
can you remind us what was your favorite of 1990 to
So
1994?
the first half I picked Batman animated series.
Okay.
And you picked Conan, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You
Say that
you
again.
you picked Conan O'Brien for your first
Conan,
half.
yes, Late Night with Conan.
So I'm debating if there's anything here now that we've talked about it. Do you have a favorite? What's your favorite for the first this half of the decade? I guess to start.
If I was to talk about from 95 to 99, it's really close between South Park
Mhm.
and The Daily Show, but if I was to be very specific, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
I
I
would
would
probably
take it
I'd go
over
with
South Park.
Daily Show for this time. I mean, I yeah, I mean it's just a big part of the '90s. I guess it's like we it's such a big part of our high school. I guess time was that
Mhm.
show, and then it just kind of I never stopped watching it until maybe like 5 6 years ago. I don't watch it as often, but I would watch
Yeah.
clips here and there. Through even after John left.
Yep.
But yeah, that Daily Show is definitely up there, but it's hard because I can't see how Batman animated series would beat that. But part of me wants to pick something that's like maybe speaks the '90s more. Like I almost like want to just say Xena, just because it's a '90s show. You know what I mean?
Really is like a quintessential '90s show. Yeah.
But would you say that this Daily Show your favorite '90s show? Then is that you think your
Here,
answer?
I'm gonna do us both a favor. I'm gonna say, in all seriousness, the best show of the '90s to us was The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Gotcha. Okay.
But but in a more pleasant way, what was your like other favorite? Because if I have to put another favorite to this, and I'm looking at my list again, uh, I think I would probably go with Deep Space Nine
Oh,
as
you're
like
gonna
my
bring that
favorite.
back? Great.
I'm gonna bring it back,
I'm
and
surprised you didn't make it a
it
favorite on the original episode.
well, if I'm looking at Conan, it's like Conan was great, but DS9 has given me so much more too, like, and that's a show that I can still just keep watching. Like, I will still watch, like, I need to always be able to watch episodes of Deep Space Nine, which
I
is why
get
we still have Paramount Plus.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would.
Yep.
I don't know if I think if it's either. I guess I would say Batman still because I can't. I'm looking at the second half here. Like TV was never a big part of me. Like I loved a lot of these shows that were listed in the second half of the '90s, but like loved Batman. Like I mean, I can't think of anyone better than that one as far as like my favorite one. And like that speaks to my childhood nostalgia, all of it. Xena just would be fun. Uh, you know, SG1. I feel like I didn't watch it in the '90s, so like it doesn't really seem right to pick that. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Batman animated series. I'm gonna stick with that. That's my favorite.
You know, I think that's a great choice. It is a great show, obviously. Um, and I think it speaks to what's also happening in TV, in this latter half of the '90s. Um, it's certainly changing because, I mean, if The Sopranos start in '99, Seinfeld is over, like now it's really kind of shifting to a lot more of what we were watching online, and here's an idea for something that we might want to try doing down the line, Justin. We might want to do an episode just on like favorite internet animators, especially talking about like the early days, like
Happy Tree Friends,
this time period as we start transitioning from like
maybe.
broadcast television to watching more, clips and, shorts that people are putting together online.
Favorite viral video.
Yeah, could do that too.
All right, well, that's something we can do later. But we're done with '90s television. I think we're done for the '90s for a while. I don't know what other one we'll
Yeah,
do. I
yeah, I think we're good
think
for
we
a
still
bit.
got to do video games at some point, but we'll get there eventually. Um,
Yeah.
but So
Wonder
our
We're
favorite
back.
Batman animated series and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I'm glad that you went with that too. It felt wrong that you didn't say it last time.
It's
Um,
like I feel bad talking about it because I've talked about it so much on the show.
but all
I
right,
just
well,
feel bad.
that is playing favorites. Let us know what your favorite 90s TV show is in the
Mhm.
comments. Ask your friends and family to tell what theirs are. Just come to the YouTube channel, make a little comment. Click the like button, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And hopefully, we see you next time we're here. I'm Justin.
I'm Paul. Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye.